Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics.
There is the kind of state that seeks always to extend its administrative powers and functions into all realms of society, always seeking a higher degree of centralization in the conduct of its operations, always tending toward a wider measure of politicization of social, economic, and cultural life. It builds up a sense of the absolute identity of state and society. Nothing outside the state, everything in the state. This passage was written by the American sociologist Robert Nisbet to describe a nation on the path to totalitarian rule. As a form of government that first emerged in the 20th century, totalitarianism was primarily exemplified by two regimes, Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia. The rise of totalitarianism and the misery and suffering it produced revealed to the world the grave dangers that arise when government power becomes too extensive. But while most people are aware of the atrocities committed by the totalitarian regimes of the 20th century, few seem concerned that the growth of government power in the West today could lead to anything remotely similar. Rather, many believe that the existence of democracy acts as an effective barrier to the rise of overly oppressive regimes. But is this really the case? Or is democracy, as currently practiced in the West, promoting the rise of tyranny rather than preventing it? The purpose of this video will be to examine this question. In the process, we will look at two potential threats which face modern democracies, namely, a tyranny of the masses and the rise of what has been called a soft totalitarianism, resulting from the incessant growth of centralized government power. As we will argue, it is the latter threat, not a tyranny of the masses, which is the most serious in the present day. Democracy is such a revered institution that many see it as responsible for much of the prosperity and stability experienced in the world today. With the dominance of this one-sided view, it may be surprising that many great minds, including Plato, Aristotle, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and Lord Acton, were critics of democratic rule. Some have gone as far as to suggest that modern democracy, rather than being a protector of freedom, provides fertile ground for the rise of tyranny. Bertrand de Jouvenel, in his book On Power, expressed this view. Conceived as the foundation of liberty, modern democracy paves the way for tyranny. Born for the purpose of standing as a bulwark against power, it ends by providing power with the finest soil it has ever had in which to spread itself over the social field. To understand how democracy, far from preventing tyranny, can pave the way for it, the common notion that democracy is somehow synonymous with freedom must be dispelled. In a democracy, one is given the opportunity to partake in the political process through voting or running for office. In exchange for being permitted these rights, one is expected to obey the will of the majority. But being required to obey the will of a majority can be just as antithetical to freedom as being forced to obey the will of a lone tyrant, as the economist John Wenders put it. There is a difference between democracy and freedom. Freedom cannot be measured by the opportunity to vote. It can be measured by the scope of what we do not vote about. The threat that arises when a society accepts that a majority of people, through their votes, can force minorities to behave in a manner other than their choosing is known as the tyranny of the masses. Benjamin Franklin famously referred to this when he wrote, "Democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what they are going to have for lunch." However, as was mentioned earlier, a tyranny of the masses may not be the most serious threat facing the West. Rather, the structure of modern democracies minimizes the potential impact that the will of the majority exerts on social and economic affairs. To understand why this is the case, the distinction must be made between two types of democracy: direct democracy and indirect democracy. Direct democracy involves people casting votes on specific issues, usually by means of a referendum. Under this type of democracy, one could properly say that the majority rules, and thus the threat of a tyranny of the masses is real. But this is not the type of democracy in existence in the West. Rather, Western nations are indirect democracies, whereby people vote for politicians, and the elected politicians are given the power to decide on the issues at hand. Indirect democracies minimize the amount of power vested with the people as compared with a direct democracy. In fact, popular participation in modern Western democracies, save for occasional referendums, basically amounts to nothing more than favoring one or another of the major political parties who share more similarities than differences. Elected politicians are not required to behave in a manner they believe is consistent with the will of their constituents, nor are they required to keep the promises they made to get elected. Rather, politicians once in power are far more influenced by lobbyists, special interests, and their own personal gain. This issue of minimal power in the hands of the
What up, guys? This is Tommy with Domination Politics. The show with me today. But I want to make sure that you all are free-thinking, innovative, and totally open-minded. Because we've got a lot on the docket today. Mainly, guys, always, because we're progressives. Be progressive. Be progressive. At this, though, guys, another horrendous inflation metric just hit as Biden continues to spiral out of control with his border crisis, his inflation crisis, his economic crisis, his military crisis, and his crisis of being a human being.
That's just gonna say.
We'll get to that more about Julian Assange, but
end of life.
It turns out, midlife crisis, guys.
Midlife. He's way
I
past
would say
midlife.
Yes.
So the NDAA was trying to be cut, attempted to be cut by AOC. I have to say, guys, that AOC, although I've had some problems with her in the past, being a coward and not sticking it to Nancy Pelosi, running interference for the Democratic establishment, calling her Mama Bear, not forcing the vote. I will have to say this, guys, and I'm gonna be super clear, honest. When you do good things, I have to give you praise, and she has been on the same page ever since this infrastructure bill. She voted no against the infrastructure bill, which is, as more I'm looking into, guys, it's really not infrastructure. It's more influence. It's social strategies, international strategies. It's competition with China and Russia, which is why the media is warmongering about China and Russia. And it's more posturing for international globalist neoliberalism. That's what my opinion is. After reading the Hillman report from the National Center for International Strategies, the think tank that fosters very what do they call it? Expansive competition between the nation states, China and the United States. They're literally a think tank, especially for us and China. But the thing, guys, is these nation states, although they have their funneling of the wealth to the elites, they seem to have some problems with actual real journalists. I mean, not the problems like Chris Cuomo, who is now fired. Although, guys, did y'all hear that Chris Wallace is replacing Chris Cuomo? The Chris is replacing the Chris. Chris Cross, what do y'all think about that?
I love Chris. I'm Chris.
Yeah, you're a good Chris. You're one of the good ones. Well, guys, the real journalists, though, and this has been going back on.
I think it's funny how it wasn't a problem at CNN that one of their top news anchors was brothers with a governor before all of this. Like it was cool for the first 10 fucking years, but after that, that's when it became iffy.
Well, it's when he was
when two brothers are accused of sexual assault, there's something to might want to look into there. But hey.
I mean, I get a little weird making fun of the Cuomos because they feel like kind of like the stereotype of Italian people. They're not real people. They're just the stereotypes of Italian people. Like, I don't know what to say. It's like, this looks like. If you want to see what a thug looks like, look at Governor Cuomo. Who his brother to smear sexual assault survivors. So, I don't know.
Didn't Cuomo win an
terrible.
Emmy, I believe?
He did, bro.
Yeah.
So,
like, he literally got to kill millions of old people, right? Or help kill millions of old people. And then basically step out of public light with some kind of bullshit Me Too scandal. And then his brother gets to get out of all of the heat by being like, oh, look, I knew about it. My bad, guys. I gotta go now.
Yeah. That's what Tucker Carlson had a good point. When I was listening to him, he's like, the best thing that Chris Cuomo actually ever did was like defend his brother because that's your family. Doing those conservative principles. But I like that. that's probably true because Chris Cuomo, remember this, he did talk about the Iraq War. He's always been not even on the line. He's been on Jeff Zucker's ass. He's brown nosing Jeff Zucker, which is why he can get away with all that stuff. Get away with lying about I just got out of COVID. These guys have been lying all this time is because they kiss up to their bosses. But then when the Atlantic said that now it's time to go, when the conventional wisdom and the social norms say it's time to go, then Jeff Zucker says it's time to go. Not for principles or values. That's how the conventional wisdom and the mainstream media work. Is the masses say, well, what did that video just say? It's the tyranny of the masses, guys. That really is what we're experiencing. I feel like. Don't you think, Chris? What do you think, Stephanie?
I definitely agree. We're close to the authoritarian type government. I mean, it's almost becoming dystopian in a way. It's getting a bit terrifying.
The funny thing is,
a little bit.
Try to put a GIF of a 1984. Facebook will literally take it off and say it violates the community standards. They will not allow you to show GIFs of 1984. That's how scary / hilarious it's become. It really has. But
it's gotten ridiculous.
Well, for what Noam Chomsky's work.
No Chomsky, yes. Manufacturing consent. Do we lose you, Andrew?
I think we lost him.
Yeah, he cut out.
Okay. Probably making a good
can you
point,
hear me
too.
now?
There he is.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry about that. So Noam Chomsky, everyone knows what manufacturing. It's essentially a psychological operation that gets other people to believe that everyone else thinks this way, or that everyone else is okay with it. So a big part to countering that is to let people know that they're not alone in not wanting to deal with the mandates. Like, even if they have their booster shot, their third or fourth shot at this point, people can still choose to say no and turn and walk away for what it's worth and the damage that it's caused. So I think that's super important to remember, is this is still all based on consent, and it happens because other people think that other people are okay with it.
Right.
And I agree with that 100%. Because I'm over here.
Yeah.
I'm one of the very few that's still completely unvaccinated by choice, and I can because I don't trust, everything new keeps changing, and I'm just not ready for it because it keeps changing. I don't want to get 1,000 boost shots. I just want to get one that takes care of it once it's taken care of. I'm out here where I'm not really affecting myself or anyone else, but so it's not a danger to anyone else. But
They've got that old line.
Those that are afraid to not be vaccinated, that they're being bullied into it. I can be a testimony to them. Be like, hey, it's okay. We're here for you. we're out here.
Okay,
that's
here's
the whole thing with professional
But
sports right now, is because even with the
Schools
NFL,
have
vaccinations
mandates
are
for
optional. But with players, if they choose to not get vaccinated on this professional stage, the media turns it into a circus, right? So people would be more apt to lie about it and participate in manufacturing consent themselves than they would be to try to withstand the circus, because that's not what they're there for. So they'll just go along to get along. And
Stephanie, you have a point about schools? Stephanie?
I completely
Schools have
forgot,
mandates?
actually.
Okay.
I got
Oh,
one
yeah,
about
I mean,
schools at the same time.
There are tons of
it's
vaccine mandates that no one has issues with. I'm not
I agree with that.
understanding.
See, this is
Well,
my
the
thing,
is that
Stephanie,
they're
is
bullying
that there
people into
was.
getting this vaccine.
Okay.
At the beginning of the school year, Dallas ISD was noted offering children $100 cash incentives if they got the vaccine before they started school.
Wow.
So they've got this line. They've got this line, guys, that if Fox News live during polio, nobody would have gotten the polio vaccine. All of the elements surrounding all of this vaccine and the polio vaccine are completely different, guys. First of all, is there a booster for polio? Second of all, is there an entire mainstream media talking about how you're a good person if you put on, how they're literally driving that stuff into you? You're hurting my freedoms. You're hurting my kids. That's what I heard before all this started. It's
Well,
it's how it all came to be. That was
Wow, my kid has to wear
to
a mask
me-
at school. Boo hoo.
To me, there's a line. There's certain places where I agree with the masks. Medical places, places where immunocompromised or elderly people may be frequenting.
But
Yes,
how
those
would you
places where
know
there's
those
high
people are
Well,
compromised?
that's why you do market research beforehand and find out where the immunocompromised and elderly are spending the most of their time out, like certain stores, drug stores, certain like places you get medicine,
where they're hanging. Where they're hanging out.
places where medical things are prominent. Like those places I can understand, but like going to HEB, going to Walmart, going to Kroger's, like it's past that. Like if it's there, it's there. Like your mask
Guys,
is going
I'm
to change
gonna
the
be
fact
real with you. This whole thing was postured and sold from the beginning, and so
It's just
that's why I don't believe it.
ridiculous, though.
It's not because I don't believe in science.
Yeah.
It's because these people
Mandating
are
it.
liars. They've lied for 20 years about everything, and even now, the Reuters just came out with the Omicron variant is happening to the vaccinated.
Thomas,
The
let me
vaccinated
pause you
are
for a
getting-
second.
Not
I'm getting-
me, because I've had my
That's
baby.
what
Let me
Reuters-
pause y'all for a
That's what
second.
Reuters said. So
I actually something
Is that
interesting
true or not
happened. Something really interesting happened to me this week. I got a notification on my phone from Google asking me if I wanted to participate in the program where it lets me know if I have been exposed to COVID. So it monitors where I am at all times and everyone around me. And if anyone around me posts that they have been exposed, then my phone marks that I have been exposed and then marks everyone's phone around me.
So
saying
that's
that they've been
another layer. Chris added another layer to this. First of all, guys,
That's
let's not
something
forget
that
we're in
happened
a
yesterday.
surveillance state, police state. We're in a surveillance
getting
state, police
worse
state, where
by
our
the
data
day.
is being sold by billionaires that didn't.
Well,
They're
luckily,
taking it anyway.
Luckily,
That's where
like
it
our guest
started.
was saying, we're still in the realm of consent, like where I have the option to decline. Luckily, we are still in the realm of consent.
Can you
Because-
decline the iTunes agreement? Can you do that?
Oh fuck
I
yeah!
don't think so.
I decline it. I decline it all. Like I'm not agreeing to shit because I don't know what you're putting in your fine print. I don't know what you have written in your loopholes that your lawyers have written into your contracts. No.
You don't know already? It's Russia. It's Russia. It's Russia. Russia.
It's always been Russia. Russia and China.
Then the Bernie Bros. So I really want. I like to have this argument, guys. Even though some of us, the majority of us on this show are on the same page about vaccine mandates, and I know Stephanie that you're not. And I want to listen to your point of view because I do want to have a free thinking perspective. But it's just how this has been pushed, how this has been sold, and how they're taking advantage of the masses. You're a good person if you do this. I mean, any time that you start off with something like that, a manipulation tactic, it just smells funny. And now these guys are being paid, and their emails are redacted, and they're obfuscating blame, not taking responsibility. So then I start to think, why am I not having this conversation with my doctor? Why is Joe Biden? Because Joe Biden, anything he says, 40% doesn't like. So why would he be talking about it unless he wants to do something?
Your doctor's been paid off.
So I just start to think questions like that. All of my answers are, it's not about the vaccine. It's about surveillance, control, and stagnant control, and money and wealth, just like it always is. So that's where I come back to every time, because it's not about us. Just like
the man,
he was talking about that vaccine. He was saying it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. When I came into office, before I came into office. Well, Joe, if we're talking about COVID has been around since March 2021, before he came into office. Why are you talking about before he came into office now when he came into office? It's because you want to get reelected, Joe. Unfortunately for you, Joe, your approval ratings are horrible. And everybody can see through this.
It's so shitty. He's already playing the future game for the future elections.
Yes.
Like, it hasn't even been shit. Like, he hasn't even done shit yet. And he's already playing the long game.
Anything. He hasn't done anything but screw up our entire economy.
So why does he think he can play the long game when he hasn't
get out of Afghanistan badly? Because people are going to continue to believe the mainstream media. That's the answer. And why? Because there's insurrectionists and there's hard terrorists. Or what exactly, Andrew, what exactly is Julian Assange charged with? Do you know? What is he charged with?
Espionage. There's 17 counts under the Espionage Act and one count of conspiracy to commit computer intrusion. And it's for receiving, transmitting, and publishing classified information.
So I also heard, I was reading earlier, I read that because of the information leak that he was also being charged with something like 30 or a whole bunch of counts of some sort of manslaughter that equated to 145 years in prison. Those charges.
No, those aren't. There's nothing about manslaughter charges or anything like that. In court, the U.S. tried to argue that Julian, with these leaks, put sources and informants in danger because the redaction process wasn't able to catch every single name in the gigabytes of information that they put out. So that was their argument. But in Chelsea Manning's court case, they had shown that, like in court, in military court, in Chelsea Manning's court-martial, they showed that no one was hurt from the release of the information that she disclosed to WikiLeaks. That there wasn't a single person that got harmed.
An older article that I read, because I read that they were trying to say that he was the cause of several incidents or deaths. So maybe it was an older article. But thank you for clearing that up.
Thanks on that.
That was essentially what the U.S. was trying to argue. Like, they were trying to say that him releasing this information caused that to happen, but they weren't pursuing like manslaughter charges. That's just why they started to say that it was bad.
If nothing else, thank you for
just
clearing
like it was the Bernie.
Hey, hold on, Thomas. Hold on.
Yes, go ahead.
I appreciate you clearing that up because that was what I found off of a quick 5-minute Google search. It came up saying something about like a 145 years prison sentence. So if that's what I found off of 5 minutes, the common Joe looking up this case is going to find that. So if they hear our podcast or whatever, they're going to hear your explanation. I appreciate you clearing that up because that is valuable information.
I actually saw 50 weeks serving time for him to serve.
I mean, I heard
Well,
Chris
I
heard
don't
about
know.
105
It may
years
have been the Guardian.
altogether.
It may have been the Guardian. I'm not 100% sure, but I read it was seriously the equivalent of a 145-year sentence.
Jeez.
Yeah, when he was originally taken out of the Ecuadorian embassy, which is a whole story how that happened in and of itself. But when he was originally taken out of the embassy, it was on a bail charge, like skipping bail, for court hearings that were 10 years old. And they said that then they sentenced him to 50 weeks for skipping those bail charges on top of all of the other charges that the U.S. had put on in the United Kingdom to try to extradite him. And he has
those 50 weeks, did he not?
Yeah, almost 3 times that amount. It's been 2.5 years.
Oh shit!
Right. And okay, so the last time I was on the vigil with you and Misty, we were talking about the fact that these extradition. First of all, the United States put up a person that died under oath that he was associated with Julian Assange. Why does the United States Department of Justice have credibility in this case? Sway a judge at this point.
Well, the problem is the process as punishment. So the whole idea isn't necessarily that is correct or incorrect, because Siggy Thornton, the main witness for the U.S., did lie. But it's just at what part of the process is the defense allowed to introduce that? And that's how the court system itself becomes part of the actual oppression and torture. Because
I thought it was fruit of the poisonous tree. They call that fruit of the poisonous tree. I thought. No? It seems to be fruit of the poisonous tree if you ask a liar to keep on, giving you evidence because he's a liar. So I don't get that logically. Sorry to interrupt
but
you,
it's basically a matter of, okay, when do they get to appeal that, because that information that he lied came out after the actual witness testimony.
I see.
So the part of the trial that we're in now and trying to resolve, at least in the UK, is that it just got ruled that the United States can provide adequate assurances that Julian won't be sent to a specifically named prison, ADX Florence, and he won't be held in special administrative measures there.
Right.
But
we have the safest
Right,
prison.
right, and that's all bullshit.
Yeah, once he gets here,
I mean,
if they extradite him here, he's toast. I mean,
Right.
They protected Epstein super good. So guys, this came
himself
off the telly.
Hey, he killed him.
A British court has opened the door for Wikileaks founder Julian Assange to be extradited to the United States. Judges in London have overturned a previous ruling that blocked Assange's extradition on mental health grounds, following an appeal by Washington. The U.S. wants to put the Wikileaks founder on trial for publishing classified military documents relating to the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Assange is expected to appeal. For more on this verdict that allows for the extradition of Julian Assange, we are joined by Professor Nils Meltzer, Special Rapporteur on Torture at the UNHCR. He also wrote a book on the plight of Mr. Assange. Welcome, sir, to DW. What are your first thoughts?
Well, it's disappointing, of course, especially to get such disastrous news on International Human Rights Day, because this judgment clearly goes against anything that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights stands for. Now, I'm not surprised that this happens, because I've investigated this case personally. I have visited Mr. Assange in prison in Belmarsh 2 years ago, and what I can see is that throughout the last decade, his human rights have been violated systematically at all stages of every legal proceedings he has been exposed to. So what we see here is now that the appeals court has allowed the U.S. appeal, which basically means that they have opened the door to his extradition if the UK government agrees to extradite him to the United States.
What recourse does Assange have at this point? What's next?
Well, he can still appeal to the UK Supreme Court, but what we have to see here is that the High Court is obviously a very high-level court in the UK, and also it has been presided by the Lord Chief Justice of England and Wales, which is the highest-placed judge in the UK. So the UK Supreme Court can decline to hear the appeal, so it's not a given that it will hear that appeal.
So clearly the case is not over, but what precedent does this verdict set, viewed in isolation?
Well, I think it's extremely dangerous, because what essentially is being done is that the only issue that has been discussed at the Spiel stage is whether the U.S. guarantees regarding its detention conditions, which were considered to be oppressive by the first instance judge, whether they can be rendered humane by diplomatic assurances. What was not discussed, which is really the elephant in the room in this case, is press freedom. Why is Julian Assange in prison in the first place, given that all he has done is what investigative journalists do all around the world every day, publishing true information about
So I've noticed we're all up in arms, guys, about the insurrection. We're all up in the arms about insurrectionists, about the rule of law, about helping your brother out. I mean, grannies and killing grannies and smacking fannies. But I don't hear any of the free speech activists of the media talk about how this case raises media freedom issues, and
human rights.
he literally
as well.
He did journalism and yes, absolutely. So Andrew, what are your thoughts about the media and why they don't think that this is going to come to bite them if they ever sought to try to do real journalism? Do you think it's because they don't want to do real journalism? They've given up on that. Trump was right. They are the enemies of people. And so
to put it in perspective of coronavirus, it was I guess just for the timeline, in October of 2019, there was a human rights report that came out that exposed the location of human slave detention facilities in China. Like factual, accurate, documented evidence came out about that. Later on, a few weeks later, there was coronavirus that hit. And then the US media was relatively silent, right? Like you had some rumblings. I believe Trump tried to close the border in January. And then end of February 2000 and what was that, 2020, beginning of March, is when Julian Assange's actual first round of trials started happening. And it was after that, after there was total media hegemony, essentially, over the Assange trial, once essentially the CIA knew that they had enough control over enough mainstream press that they could imprison, hold for 6 months, and then try a journalist in the UK without question. The drive home from those protests is when coronavirus hit the United States, in the media at least. So I think you can't really take the two independent of each other. The three, I guess: coronavirus, Julian's persecution, and the relative media silence by the mainstream institutions, because it's all part of the same plan, right? Like the First Amendment has multiple components of it. It has speech, religion, association, expression, and probably another one that I can't think of off the top of my head. But they're going after all of those at the same time, right? They proved that they had control of the media by prosecuting Julian to be comfortable enough to create a propaganda influenced campaign around the virus.
A firestorm.
I think that you're right on the money with that. It's so interesting that, amidst coronavirus and the warmongering, we're now building back better. And what does that mean? I don't really know, because Joe Biden hasn't really done anything. But he did get out of Afghanistan fairly quickly and kind of haphazardly. For the life of me, I feel like that's just another part, Andrew. I feel like that's how we got out of Afghanistan is just another part of the puzzle.
Agenda. It's an agenda.
This is what infrastructure is, guys. Okay, so that Hillman, let me tell you, some of the things I read there. It's not even about roads or railways or bridges. It is about three things. It's about the transportation of goods, finance, and information. That's the infrastructure that they're talking about, and how they could just shut down the flow of information, of transportation, like they did with the coronavirus. That is just an interesting thing. And now they're talking about infrastructure in the neoliberal way. And that's exactly, those are the three things that Hillman in his report said that infrastructure was. It's not about, rebuilding the crumbling I-35 interstate. It's about making the goods come to you faster. And it's a whole different kind of infrastructure that they're talking about.
And bridges. Exactly. Out here where I'm at, it's nothing but national forests. In my job, I drive around these forests all day long, picking up like deliveries and whatnot. And you see them tearing down these beautiful natural forests to build Amazon warehouse, to build FedEx warehouse, to build
because they got to get the goods
warehouse. Fast. Why do we need so many goddamn warehouses? We don't need it.
Mass production.
Also,
it's all about selling what China gives us.
Yes, Stephanie. Yes. You're right. But we've been doing that for the longest time. We've been doing that for the longest time, and that's why that's another reason why Trump was elected president, because he was right about that.
Half our country is China already.
Another reason why he was elected president was, and I think it's funny how she's just another part of the puzzle, how she's literally, have you noticed, guys, that anytime that some Julian Assange is something's happening with him, some kind of rights are being taken away, she is in the news talking about Russians. She's in the news talking about
No,
Russians, bro.
I have
did
And
my
how,
own
hear.
theory
how the
about
gatekeepers,
Hillary.
how the gatekeepers need to tell us all what we're seeing, because we have no historical
Wait, I
context.
wanted to say
So she told
something.
Rachel
I
Maddow.
just found
Go ahead.
out Assange had a stroke while he was
Yes.
Yeah,
there, and I didn't know that. I mean, so that right
that's
there.
actually something that I didn't even know about until this morning when I was watching Consortium News. They said
Exactly.
it happened on October 27th, but they didn't report it until like very, very, very recently after all this.
So that right there should be, an example of his health. He's not healthy enough to be extradited to the United States. It's just,
Yeah, it's a matter of
yeah.
health at this point. Like beyond like all the bullshit, like he's not healthy enough to do that.
No, did
Look,
you see him
America.
during the
Why
court for a
do
few minutes
we
of
care
the
about health? We
trial?
tortured some folks, America.
During the trial?
Be clear.
He looked.
Yeah, it
Oh
didn't
my
look
God,
good.
he
Didn't
looked
look
like
good,
a
man.
zombie. I cried.
Didn't look good.
He.
That's good. He got
very
to.
good
Is he married? Is he married now, Andrew? He's married now? Did he get married already?
I believe so. Yeah,
Well, good for him.
that they were
So that's
able
good.
to get married.
At least he had some happiness during all this
Right on.
tragic.
So the thing that scares me about this, guys, and I just want to tie this all in together with the vaccines and the mass media, manufacturing consent, is that it worked so well, it worked so easily, and we were divided so fast that we have the people that don't believe in science versus the racists versus it was all of us versus against each other.
Shit.
And then in 48 hours, they bailed out the banks and Wall Street and funneled them to 1%. And it worked so well. So the thing that alarms me, guys, about these things, the journalism, the real journalists getting, the hack and the masses deciding the morality, is that it's working, guys. And that's what scares me the most. That's why I started the show. So that's the things that we need to think about is combating it. Is that we're fighting it all day long. We're like Andrew said, we're standing up. And the last time I was on the video with Andrew, brainstorm, because I'm just like, guys, how is this happening? We got to find a way to stop it. But it's
We're painting
interesting.
targets on our backs, but it's for the bigger cause.
Andrew's like, people on Facebook don't
feels
really want to know the
defeating,
truth. I was like,
Well,
that's
well,
true.
no, I
above all of
go
us.
to. I have
Andrew
two
above
little
all of us.
kids, so I go to my local school board meetings because my school has
Yeah.
mask mandates, which my kids don't participate in. But I go and I raise hell about it. So
I reported him raising hell about it, and I got struck by my channel. Just reporting that he was raising hell about it, YouTube struck me. So this is how their handle is on information. It's interesting.
yeah, and they actually refused to put 2 of the videos online from the school board meetings that I went to, because they said they were too controversial. Where I was discussing the FBI getting involved with local schools and how that's completely inappropriate, and if they had done anything about it, and how Pennsylvania had decided to leave the National School Board Association over that. And then the National School Board Association apologized and said, no, we're not doing this. The FBI testified in front of Congress and said, I think it was Merrick Garland personally that said, no, we're not doing this. And then an internal memo came out that said, yes, they're definitely using the Patriot Act to target parents that are going to school board meetings. So I went to my school board meeting and I said, fuck the FBI, like, please target me, like I'm doing nothing, like I'm just living my fucking life, like, make it a problem.
That's where they thrive.
I live my life like I am being watched all the time anyway, so.
I just think about it like it's fun.
Mechanical here.
Because you have to picture the world like this, right? You can't walk into a grocery store, a gas station, a police office or a police station, a prison, a library, a school, any warehouse that we were just talking about. You can't walk into any of those and find one that doesn't have a desperate need for employees right now, because there's a shitload of people that said fuck it. So if
But
we
yet,
can
when they
get a
get
bunch of
employees,
people,
they
That's
treat them
promising.
like shit.
well, hold on.
True.
If we can get a bunch of people to waste the time of the FBI for investigating them for caring about these issues, that's way less things that the FBI gets to get involved with, right? So it's like a intelligence version of Weather Underground, where they did very unspeakable things in the streets of Chicago to distract the FBI. If they're so sensitive that they have to look into people that are going to school board meetings, go to every school board meeting you can find and get everyone else you know to do it too. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, there's way more people that care about that issue than there is FBI agents that can watch people that care about those issues. So just by doing it, you create this juxtaposition where you may not even know how to create the change, but putting yourself in that situation and even knowing you're going to be surveilled, like openly knowing and mocking that is a really powerful tool. It's like how Jimmy Dore turns things into comedy, like going to your local school board and mocking the FBI openly is a great way to I guess, like, pull heat off of other people that are trying to do the same thing.
I talk to
Jimmy
my
Dore. He takes on the heat. He takes on the heat every day, bro. He's one of the most people I know in like history. Like everybody hates him so much.
For myself.
I don't get it. Like all he does is say what he thinks, and he reasons right there. You can see his mind working. It's not like It's just for people who think freely and who just have the courage to just go through a logic. I salute, and I don't really care if I disagree or not. Just to have the ability to not listen to Chris Cuomo and Anderson Cooper, Sean Hannity, and to see the wheels turning with a human mind, for me, is a beautiful thing. So the conclusions that he's come to are more correct than the mainstream media for the last 20 years. So I mean, he must be doing something right. He's always talking about I'm a comedian. I'm high in my garage, and I'm more right than the mainstream media. It's true. So maybe that's why he's hated. But he's also he's a comedian, and he's not afraid of saying nice new skirt. Says stuff like that. I don't know what the deal is with him and Anna Kasparian, bro, but they need literally just share an office. Major Retailer Green and AOC. They should share an office for sure. I'm done with Congress, by the way. I'm done with hearing who said who to what. I'm tired of hearing the death threats. I'm tired of hearing who pushed Pelosi down the stairs. You guys are really the most lazy people I've ever seen. You're always on vacation, and the only time you can pass a law is when it's about the military or your stupid National Endowment of the Arts. So, like, literally,
it seems the Republicans are actually
I don't care
more at this point than the Democrats are, and that's not good.
If someone's pushing down the stairs, Nancy, move faster because you're not. Their stuff is tired. Their stuff is tired, bro. But that was a comment. That was not a question. Their stuff is tired.
That's the
I saw them during the COVID pandemic in 48 hours. Never seen Congress move that fast. Bail out the banks, military-industrial complex, pass the NDAA in 48 guys. Do you know how long it took for them to do the COVID relief bill? 6 months. Remember that? Then they gave us $600. No, you already got $600.
Hey,
how fast did Wall Street was calling? How fast did they move? How fast did they move when Jefferson and Mr. Jefferson Bezos was saying, Mr. Biden moved fast, or he was the president back then, but Trump moved fast with Steve Mnuchin. They're all the same, guys. What's up,
Greedy,
Chris?
corrupt, yeah.
Yeah, it's greedy and corrupt. So we must always shine a light on that, guys. I don't care if it's Trump with Steve Mnuchin, who was a known thief and forecloser of people's houses, wheeling money out of the treasury. I don't care if it's a dementia-riddled old man and his happy-go-lucky vice president who thinks everything's funny. Wheeling money out of the treasury. They're robbing us. When are we going to do something about it? That's what are they robbing us? Literally where I'm at. Well, every time they wheel money out of the treasury for infrastructure projects that have nothing to do with foreign influence and competition between Xi Jinping. That inflates the dollar, and we start to get inflation every time, and the dollar's worth
My
nothing.
paycheck is less
Is
and
that
less.
economics?
Have you ever heard of Keynesian economics?
I've heard of Keynesian economics. And I've heard of what's that?
MMT.
Modern monetary theory.
Yeah, well,
MMT,
that's Keynesian
But
economics
the-
for dummies. But
Okay. Well, the fact remains is that's what seems to be happening every time they real money out of the treasury. That's what happens every time. It just seems to be the theme. So
well,
I
that's
don't.
not the particular
I
reason.
believe that we're the richest country in the
Right
world, but we're spending $800 billion on the military, and we're spending money where it doesn't belong. And
We're the richest.
I call that a robbery. I call that a robbery of the American people. Is misuse of tax dollars? Don't you? Don't you call that? Don't you call not giving people healthcare during the pandemic a robbery without in 40 hours Wall Banks and
And that would have been a good segue into universal health care or a Medicare for all was starting. That would have been a good backdoor into it if we would have at least provided coverage during, the beginning of the COVID.
Yes. But they don't give a shit about us.
But
So
it would have been
that's why
a great way to, push on to Medicare for all.
But that's why, Stephanie, this pandemic of the unvaccinated, not a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Now we have proof by the Omicron variant, but it was a division tactic. He only wanted to divide us. The vaccinated, the distinct minority won't do it. That's why we can't have jobs. If only the distinct minority would do it, then we could all have ice cream and bomber jacket. That's Biden's MO, bro. If only the distinct minority, but they're racists. But they're nasty women. They're what are they called? The deplorables. They all pull the same works, and I don't know how. But that's what they're doing. It's not about the COVID vaccines. It's about him putting us against the distinct minority. That's what it's about. Point
I can
living around the wall of the castle.
If we
well, I still feel
if we all stop talking about that, then we would know that Joe Biden isn't really doing infrastructure. And this Build Back Better Act was never going to go through the House with Nancy Pelosi saying that there was going to have paid family leave. As soon as Bernie Sanders got on board, help actual people, there ain't going to be no bill. As Nancy Pelosi said, guys. Game on. Game off. The donors got involved, and we all got redlined. That's what always happens, guys. And AOC's tired of it now. Going back to my point. Well, I didn't expect AOC to be fed up with it. She is. Amendments, they failed. By the way, they failed with, of course, 26 Democrats voted against her of accountability in the executive branch, which is what they were, right? Because Ivanka, right? They voted against this amendment. Her amendment was about accountability of the executive branch. And then, guys, 13 Republicans joined the Democrats. Oh, no.
Of course.
So is this a one part? Yes, it is. Is it ruled by social? Is the Democratic Party run by socialism and the Green New Deal socialism? Full stop. No, it's not.
It's run by
one
the
party. They're not different.
Douchebags.
They're not left. They're not right. They're neoliberals. So that's the point, guys. And Andrew, it was good having you on the show.
All about that.
I love joining you guys. Thank you. I'm sorry I suck so much at actually showing up because I know we planned me being on here a couple times and it just always falls through.
I love having you. You're you're level-headed, bro. Even though you're a protester, you're more level-headed than I am. I'd probably get shot protesting because I'm a flame that won't die. But I plus a lot.
I appreciate you. It's been an honor speaking with you this evening. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Guys, I do want to say that the vigil is every Friday now. Is it every Friday? Or is what day is the vigil?
Every Friday at 9 p.m.
Okay, can you explain that
Him
to
and Misty, who are wonderful. Andrew. The vigil.
Yeah,
the vigil.
So there was a point in time where there was what was called the Unity for Jay vigils, Unity for Julian vigils. And they were just periodic updates about Julian's situation. And they were run by Susie Dawson and Elizabeth Lee Voss. And then due to their changing life circumstances in middle to end of 2019, they had to cancel or stop doing Unity for J vigils about 2 or 3 months after Julian was arrested. And me and one of my associates, comrades, compatriots, right, whatever you want to call them, started doing had already started our ground activism for Julian, and had called it Action for Assange. And we had both had some technical skills, like enough to be able to put a stream on. So we decided that we would start doing a weekly vigil to help promote on the ground action and make sure that information that was coming out about Julian could be like filtered better and like depropagandized for people, and essentially provide a place that maybe some content creators would want to come to talk in place of their show, so they could understand the issue better without talking about it first and things like that. So we've done a crazy job. Yeah. So so it's been, I want to say 127 weeks straight now. There were times where we were doing like 3 or 4 2 to 4 hour episodes live every single week. Right now we're scaled down to just Friday evenings, but
please send me a link to your show so I can
I always look it on Tommy Nation Politics, but
you do?
yes, you should see the link.
Yeah, you can find it at Action or at.
It's fun. It's very fun. It's very fun. It's very fellowshipping. So.
We try to have fun. A lot of people call us a cult, which I guess would be right, but not in like the technical sense of what a cult is. We're like trying to deprogram people to action. Essentially, our goal is to because information is so censored and so columned. One of our goals is to radicalize our information column that we get placed into, and turn it not from people posting about the issue, but people posting about them doing something in real life about the issue. So that's been a pretty successful change that we've been able to pull off in a super decentralized way, like in where like no one's the boss.
Actually, be active and do something.
Revolution. The revolution didn't end, guys.
It just seems
the
like
radical redistribution of information and wealth and infrastructure.
Well, that is awesome. Mad respect,
yes,
Andrew. Mad respect. That is.
Thank you very much.
Mad respect, bro. Mad respect. I do plan on heading out there, getting some money, and heading out there, and joining you, because like that seems to be a good work, bro. And you're right. You're right.
Where's he? Andrew, where are you?
And stand up.
I'm in the Cleveland area. I'm in the Cleveland area. Misty's in the Columbus area. And then we generally do the events in DC.
Okay. Dang.
So, you a big Chappelle fan? I think he's in that area too.
This summer, I plan on taking my van up that direction. So we should get in contact. Maybe we can get together.
Chris, it'll be good for you. It'll be good for you. Go get some fresh air, Chris.
I think he gets plenty of fresh air. Well, maybe
I know he
not
does.
fresh.
There's fresh air everywhere that I'm at. I'm nomadic. But no, definitely, Andrew. I plan on being up in that area this summer, and if we can get in contact, that'd be great. We could maybe do an episode for live together up there.
Absolutely, that would be really cool.
Dude. Well, guys, I got to keep this under an hour because I got to stream this on Instagram. But I'm going to do last words. Start with you, Chris. What is the message that you want to give the Tommy Nation this week, bro?
You know what?
Go ahead, bro.
My message for the week, it's real simple. Just keep it open-minded. Keep it open-minded,
bro. And, wait, we got people. We got Vower Tech. Okay. Stephanie, you got any words of wisdom?
Just don't lose hope, folks. Because it's getting bad, I understand, but just don't lose hope and don't give up the good fight. Because there are a lot of us, and we are not giving up. So don't give up either.
Guys, you can check out.
Well, what is our comment?
Okay, it says Botech. Sarah, subscribe, but I don't know what you mean. Andrew, what is Andrew?
My last words: just do what you can with the
Wisdom,
time
sir.
and money. Do what you can.
Yes.
Is my microphone working? Yeah, I was just gonna say, do what you can
Yeah, it
with
is.
the time and money that you have. Like you don't have to wait
Yeah.
for an open invitation. Like this is it. Like take action, change the world, be your own hero.
Now's the time.
Good advice.
Take action, guys. Change. Be free thinking, innovative, and totally open-minded, guys. And check us every Tuesday night for 8 p.m. time live stream Domination Tuesday. Subscribe, like, share. Word, not me, us. It's a revel never ends. This is politics.